Warning! Fact check us. We're not perfect. Don't listen if you don't like what we say. Some of what we say is opinion, fact, and/or expertise and experience. It can always be challenged. Do your own research before following ours or anyone else's advice. You're the only one responsible for the actions you take. Guidance, advice, direction, and information work differently for everyone based on a wide range of factors. Results will vary, but own your choices. Trigger warning. We say stuff you might not agree with, we might offend you, or say something that goes against your belief systems, or question your personal reality. You've been warned. Go away now if you're easily triggered. Cuss warning. We got lazy and left the cursing in. Warning, warning. It sucks that we now have to put warnings on everything. What would happen to the human race if we just let lack of common sense prevail and removed all the warning labels?
3, 2, 1. Webinars. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do them, and I fucking hate them.
We're gonna have our TV party tonight. All right. We're gonna have our TV party. All right. Tonight we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
That was Black Flag, 1981 TV party. And Dr. Mears, welcome back to another, I don't know, do we really call this a podcast or is this just a shit show?
Well, no. I don't think this is the shit show. The world outside is the dumpster fire. And we're just like having a good time talking about all of the shit that no one else really wants to talk about, but people want to hear. I'm excited by the uptick in numbers, so that's exciting.
Sure. So Black Flag. So why did I choose TV party? Let's be real here. I'm going to be just straight up. Here's some of the lyrics. TV party. We're going to have a TV party tonight. All right. And I'm not singing this, obviously. We're going to have a TV party. All right. Tonight. We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Everybody's going to hang out here tonight. All right. We'll pass out on the couch. All right. Tonight. I just felt like webinars, right? People tune into the webinars. They always turn their video off. Right. And then you're like, does anybody have a question? And it's crickets, right? Or something like that. And then by the time it's like so unengaged a lot of times. And it's not that the hosts some hosts are horrible, but it's not that the hosts are unengaging. But it's just the fact that in my brain, I see people cleaning their house, listening to a webinar like it's a podcast, or they're watching something on Netflix while the AI is recording the podcast for them. So that's why I chose that song.
No, but it's perfect because, well, a couple of things. One, like you said, are people even sitting in front of their laptop or whatever listening to it? They're probably around their house. Oh, I'm doing some laundry. I'm going to the bathroom, getting another cup of tea, whatever. Totally not dialed in. There's that. And then the second thing, I think that song should become the theme song for every webinar because, yeah, I would be a lot more entertained and entertaining with wine to go with the webinar.
Yeah, right. Listen, I mean, we actually have, not to get a deep dive into what we're doing at Procurement Con, we actually are developing a brand new networking experience. And I'm going to leave it there, but it's going to take the whole idea of that 2-minute elevator pitch bullshit that people do at networking with some networking person leading the charge and talking about their expertise. It's going to change the face, but the goal is, I kind of want to see everybody sort of like have some wine at the and play a game. We might even throw in some beer pong, but maybe not. I don't know.
See,
but anyway,
that sounds like a little bit of exclusive content for our
yeah.
audience to tap into. Give a little more deets on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, to get back to this, so you brought up the post, you said this was a subject when we were discussing what our episodes were going to be. This is something you wanted to talk about. And I have mixed feelings about webinars. I really do. They have a place, but I don't think they're a solution. I think they're more of a marketing tool. That's how I always felt they were being used. I personally I see them as a value add tool. So webinars for Procurement Con, we want to make sure that there's an action at the end. It's an actionable result for people at the end of a webinar. They get done, They walk away. They're not being asked to buy a subscription. They're not being asked to join a membership. They're not being asked to do anything. As a matter of fact, they're not even being asked to come back for part 2 of the webinar in any way, shape, or form. Here's the information in a silo, but it's adaptable. So our webinar is 3 parts, but each part stands alone. And when people walk away, there's no subscription, there's nothing. It's a genuine free webinar. And I have a problem with free, but I'll get to that later. And that's how I feel it's a value add tool, and it should always be a value add tool. But other people see it differently. They see it as a marketing avenue. You know what I mean? And that to me is where, when you blur that line between I'm trying to help you and now I'm going to force you to pay $9.95 for the secret to the sauce, that's where I have a little bit of an issue with webinars. What do you take? What's your take?
Oh, that totally gets into my craw. But on the topic of value add, we promised our listeners that we'd bring some value up front. So I want to give a few tips. These are the standards on how to deliver a really effective webinar. Then I want to get into this, right? Because I'm all about skip the webinar. Oh my goodness. Yes, I've hosted them. I attend them. So I'm not going to be hypocritical about that. I'm going to be totally straight up about that. But we're going to get into that in just a sec. So first, for our audience, we got 5 tips on how to deliver a really effective webinar. Number 1, choose a topic that is topical, right? That means something that people want to hear about now. Use Google Trends, SEMrush, and other tools to figure that out. Number 2, plan and promote it early. I have made that mistake where like, oh God, yeah, oh, that webinar, I booked it on Eventbrite, or I had scheduled it up on Zoom and crap, it's already next week. I can't freaking believe it. And I didn't promote it enough. Yeah, guess how my attendance turned out, right? Number 3, make it interactive. Have that opportunity to ask your audience, put your comments in the chat, right? I mean, that's you want people to kind of dial in and engage. And then for me, number 4 is so important. The high quality visuals and the tech. Oh, my internet crapped out.
God.
Oh, I can't hear. Oh my God. It drives me, like I lose my mind when all that stuff happens. Or you have the host who's doing the freaking webinar going, wait, how do I use the annotator tool? Wait, this isn't working. Oh, I can't share my screen. Oh my God. Like I lose it. I'm out. I click out. Like I have no patience. And then the last thing, always end with not only a call to action, but give the audience something, right?
Exactly.
Give them something of value, something they didn't expect. Oh, here's this extra tip sheet and stuff. Don't sell them shit. Like that's what drives me mental. Absolutely mental.
100% right there with you. So we did our, because I'm hot on the heels of this and in the middle of this webinar series. And, you know, I'm working in that space where I'm strong. I think that's another important thing is, you know, play to your strengths if you're going to do a webinar, right? What are you I hate the word expert. What are you good at? What are you really good at? Because that's what you should be delivering in your webinar, not something, and I'm not saying don't do research, even if you're good at it, but not something you have to go learn to go teach. I think that's another thing. You can find people who, you know, it almost becomes that talking head format, right? That we see on the internet now. And I do the talking head format in shorts and things like that. But there's that research component where people have to research something before they come up to speak to it expertly, right? And that's a catch. There's people who catch that. They're like, this person doesn't know exactly what they're talking about. They're just reading the teleprompter or reading the PowerPoint, which is another thing I can't stand is PowerPoints, even though I have to use them. It's funny because Mark had said to me, my business partner, Mark, had said to me, because I was working on a presentation for the info session we did back in March for Invest Atlantic City. And he's like, you're writing it down? Like you always shoot from the hip. And I'm like, no, you don't seem to understand. I'm only writing it down. So I'm not speaking for 3 hours.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you plan, you can be tighter on it. And to your point, most of us can sniff out a faker, right? It's like fake news. Yeah, you're not an expert in that. Toodles, right? And we bail out of the webinar. I am all about that. You have to stick to your lane. That's the whole reason why most of us go to a webinar is to go learn something that we don't know, right? We want the expert to teach us. And me being the data wonk, I wanted to share with our audience a few real fun facts, right? Because I like to do that. So Conast just recently did a survey, 100,000 webinars they analyzed and published a report here in, that's contrast.io, published the report in March. Here's what they found. They analyzed 100,000 webinars. On average in the US, Monday to Friday, there are 650 plus webinars per day. Double that number Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
High points, yeah.
Yep. Almost everyone registers for a webinar on a Tuesday, except for the 10% who register day of. And to your point from earlier in the show, you said, it's mostly like a marketing tool. 91% of businesses that do B2B sales use it as a marketing vehicle. So there you go.
Well, I mean, and it is a marketing vehicle, and it could be a valuable marketing vehicle. I think, again, there's a guy on YouTube, Sean, I think his name is Sean Cantrell. He's like #1 YouTube guy. He was a major early adopter. I love his story. I love everything he does. He does give good webinars when he's talking about how to, his life is YouTube for the most part, based on what I've seen portrayed. That's his business. And he's a good marketing guy. There's no question. He's definitely found the secrets of the sauce. Plug, shout out to him. The thing, again, I'm not a super fan of is, the 15 minutes before the event talking about how awesome we are or what we did. And I get you have to sometimes build context and history for people. And then it's that back end, like, hey, if, this will get you 1,000 views in 1 minute. And I'm not saying that's what he promises, but I'm over exaggerating shit. But, it's then if you really want to boost, you should just buy our program. And I feel like that's such and I'm pretty sure there's a percentage of that, and probably a good, extremely good percentage of that's highly effective. I don't know, what the number is, but I feel that we're in a world now that model is really going to get ugly soon because of AI. Everything with bots, everything's created with AI. We're seeing it now. Eventually, you're going to have companies that are going to put the AI, and have you ever listened to some of these AI voiceovers? They're amazing. Eventually, people are just, you can't tell. Eventually, people are just going to be using AI webinars, and it's going to genuinely lose its value in that respect. Ultimately, as a marketing tool, it's going to be effective enough, but it's going to lose its value. Numbers are going to drop off because, once again, 8 million people are going to start doing it because 8 million people are suddenly experts. 8 million people are photographers because they bought an iPhone type of thing. And there's going to be no value in it anymore. And I find that to be, again, this guy, Sean on YouTube, he's a master at what he does. I'm a little jelly, right? But I'm not paying for his service because my life is not in YouTube. I'm not trying to make YouTube this monetization thing I go on vacation on or business. But for some people, it's great. But I just wish that we would stop trying to convince people at the end of everything to buy the book. And so, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent here. I'm just bitching.
So I'm going to jump in because I share the gripe. My whole freaking thing, oh my God, OMFG actually, I am so in the camp of skip the webinar. I have wasted an ungodly amount of time at those low moments, right? It's the same thing with retail therapy. It's like, yeah, you really need this super lint razor. It works at a higher speed than anything else you've ever seen. It's guaranteed to remove all the little pilling off your clothes, and your clothes are going to look fabulous, right? And it's only $49.99 if you buy now. And I'm like, oh yeah, my clothes, yeah, they are pilling, I guess. And you get those low moments, right? You get sucked in, right? Hence the infomercial. There's a lot of value. The webinar is the same thing. If you look back, marketing through time, right? The snake oil salesman, like, come here, right? Get the cobra venom, right? This will help you. It will cure all that ails you. You will live to be 90, right? All this stuff. And so I look at all of that and I think, wow, the logical part of my brain, right? That left side logic goes, Laurelyn, you're going to be sold. This is total shite. You know what the formula is. They spend the first 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, do you have this problem? Oh, I know. So many of our customers, they've got this problem. They've got that problem. Then they have the 20 minutes of the super hype. look at all these reviews coming in. Look how awesome we are. And they pretend it's a live webinar, but it's not. And they pretend to go back and forth. Hey, let me flip things over to you, Eric, but it's not live at all. And whatever was there was canned and pre-recorded. And it's all together, which I think is total BS and disingenuous. And so after that part of the formula, part 2, then they get into part 3 and start really hammering, right? If you don't get these solutions, my God, you're going to continue to suffer. You're going to continue to have those pains with your business. And then just if you stick around, right, and you've got to wait till the last fucking minute where they're like, oh, I'm going to reveal the secret. The secret is buy my $199 package or this or that. And I just, oh my God, I cannot
so now that we've gone through our bitch fests, because that's what we just did.
Yes. But I don't feel better yet.
No, you're not going to feel better. What I want to do is I did a little bit of looking into, because I was really trying to find something unique in a benefit of a webinar. What's the benefit of a webinar? And I was looking. I asked a couple different AIs. I did some standard research. I even did a little Booleans. And for you Gen Z who don't know what a Boolean is, go search it up if you know how to search.
It's an and/or, people. It's a string to look up data.
And they're all the same. The pros are all the same, and it's basically like 3 or 4, and I'm just going to do the top 3 here. 1, more flexibility and convenience. Basically, you have a lot more flexibility in creating, and it's true. We do events, right? We know the difficulty of what it takes to put a live event together, from the simple to the most complicated. The biggest thing takeaway on this for me, even though number 3 is cost benefit, but the number 2 is overcoming geographic limitations. That's where I feel a webinar has some really great power, because you're able to reach your audience way out of your geographic footprint for your business. And I think if you put together a good webinar, you can build customer base in different locations to buy from you, buy your service, whatever it is. Cost benefits, I don't see. To me, I know it says it's number 3 because it's so much more low cost compared to a live event. But I look at cost benefits on the ROI is like, did I build real brand loyalty through it? And I don't believe a webinar builds brand loyalty with people who are not already introduced to your brand. I think a webinar can reinforce brand loyalty. That's where there's a cost benefit to me. But if it's about building new business, building new people, I'd rather spend a little bit more money on a live event and have 10 people in the room who paid $9.99 to come than have, because that's one of the other things about free, which I'm about to hit. The best roughly rate you get on anything free is about a 30% attrition rate. And that's pretty standard. And I'm not pulling that data just from the market space. I'm saying that since 2019, we have seen that data in-house. Right, that the best we got. Okay, let me step it back. Maybe 34%, but I think that was a one-time hit. The best
don't attend
because people don't attend.
Value and free, and that's the thing. Even the big conferences, so-called virtual conferences, which is a series of webinars throughout the day, conference organizers that I'm speaking to are complaining about the same issue. Yeah. We get all these leads, all these people, whatever, and how the conference organizers making money is by selling your data right to the sponsors so that they can hit you up and put you on their spam list. But then people aren't showing up. And that is about the rate. 1/3 of people at best will attend your event. And it's the whole thing. It's devalued because it's free. But if you charge more than $5 for a webinar, you decrease the likelihood of people signing up for your webinar by 75%. So you've eliminated 3/4 of your audience because you're charging more than $5.
So I'm going to disagree that a bad. I'm not going to. I'm charge 5, charge 10, charge 90. Here's my. I think a webinar generally to the public should not be free if you're serious about building brand loyalty, because the person who's willing to invest some money, $5, $15, that person is vested. You've already hit a beat on building your customer base by vetting somebody who's willing to invest in their time and your time. That, I think, I would rather have 5 people at a webinar than 500. 5 people who pay, because those 5 people will likely show up.
That's right.
Right? And they will be people who I already know Once I'm done with that webinar, my version of a webinar, my no-sell version, got to throw that in there. I know those people will interact with me and my content and my services later on. I would rather, this is funny because the SBA director here in New Jersey, Region 2 SBA co-director, she had said to me, and we have this quote, she said, what I like about you, Eric, and what you do is you could have 2 people or 200 people in a room, and you're going to make sure everybody gets what they came for, and the show will go on. And that's because I look at, from a business perspective, and this is the advice I give people, anybody in business. I don't care if you're selling, trinkets, little crystal bears, or you're selling a massive brand development service. You want your customers to be loyal as soon as possible, and make sure that your clients your new clients are getting something serious of value. Because if that takes away some steps in your process of building brand loyalty, that makes just, again, because once you have loyalty, you have to build them into ambassadorship, right? And I don't want to get into the branding junket here, but yeah, you know what? You could do the free. We've done free. We just did free. We had signups. We had about, we got about, I think and again, this was not a public event. This was to our membership only. And mind you, we have, over 28,000 members in our community. Roughly, I would say, and here's the real numbers, about 4,000 of the members opened the email that went out. And we are currently we're currently having an issue though, too, with our email domain and, all that stuff and we have this conversation since Google's made their,
Eric? Yes. We help clients at Steeris get off the blacklist and get on.
What a pain in the ass.
Actually, there's 23 blacklists. So
yeah, we are down to getting off of. We have one more to do. There's more than 23 blacklists, but we have one more to do, and I think it's in New Zealand.
Oh, geez.
So it doesn't really matter. But I had a 30% attrition rate. We had about 20 people sign up. And I had about a little more. We had close to 50% attrition rate on that for the event, for the thing. But it's okay because I'm not stressing that number, because I didn't spend a ton of advertising dollars in the public sphere to get a free webinar in the market. So only 2 people show up, right? So that's something I could live with. And I think that's something businesses have to look at, is if they're going to do their webinars. And again, I want to also say here, webinars are not just about, hey, how do you get 1 million views, or how do you market? A webinar could be a how-to. It could be, how do you build a, bookcase, right? It could be anything. I think people should really build, if they're going to do a free webinar, that what they need to do is expect low attrition in the free, and they should then cultivate those people, make sure they have the follow-ups, make sure they're giving something away to those people that's value to them, have them build that brand loyalty. Anyway, I think we got off on a tangent here.
Yeah. Well, there's a few thoughts I have on this. Well, actually I have many thoughts. As you know, this is why we co-host, because we have thoughts, right? So, and it's that Coke Zero kicking in. All right. So my thoughts on this are, I am really torn on the free, and people do it again. I think the problem is people are conflating the purpose of the webinar. So you've got the marketing hat or head or intention on, where lead gen, we need names, because if we get names, we can warm them up, we can nurture them, we can do all these things, right? That's the marketing head. Then there's the expert sort of head and the intention. I want to teach something. I want to bring something of value to my audience. I want to contribute in a meaningful way to society. And those two things are at odds. You can't do it that way, because the expert should be lauded for their expertise. They should be financially compensated for their expertise, but they're not. And then the marketeer goes, no, Laurelyn, we need to have it free so we can get lots of names. And then only a third of the freaking registered names show up anyway. So what's the point in that? What are you going to do? As soon as you send out the mailing list to say 100 people register and only 25, 30 show up, you send out your mailing list to everybody. Oh, sorry, you missed the webinar. of the 75 people, 50 will unsubscribe anyway. So what's the point? What you said earlier is exactly it. That's the only way that the two worlds, the marketing head and the expert head, can live together, is if you say, I'm going to charge some nominal fee, and I'm going to use that as a filter. Anybody who pays this nominal fee, and the studies show $5 is too low for a commitment, people will blow it off. But when you get into that $14 to $19 range, people will commit. That's enough financial pain out of their wallet where they really feel, yeah, I guess I have to go to this damn thing. And right. And
Yeah.
2/3 watch the rerun. So there's that. So don't be too afraid, if people don't come. But I'm saying the point is, then if you have the two people who paid the $14.99 to be there, they did. They paid, and they're willing to give their time, and they open their wallet. So that motivates you as the expert and say, like, yeah, I'm going to give it 1,001% because I want you to get value out of this. This is my whole intention. I'm trying to contribute in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the only way it works.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm before I jump into the
Sound like you're on the
con.
fence, though.
Well, if I'm really going to be honest about it here, I don't think
As you should.
webinar should be a fucking marketing tool. I think that should be just completely eliminated out of the idea of it being a marketing tool. That is where my head goes. And part of that is because I look at trends and I hate them. And I'm gonna diverge a minute here as to why and get away from the webinar so that we have context. I'll give you a good example. Early on with Procurement Con, we were making, and we don't use AI to create videos, with the exception of like Opus Clips to chop a video that we could throw up on Shorts. And even that, my content creators like, stop it. My
I don't like
content
their
director.
AI version of it. I like how it chops it up, but I don't like the AI version.
Right.
You'll go viral with this tool.
Yeah,
we
bullshit.
got some stock footage, and
We're going to talk about viral
oh
too
my
one
God,
day.
yeah. Sorry,
So-
I've derailed you. Go.
Because
Sorry,
I have to make a disclaimer on that too, by the way, because I said something about I don't believe in viral, but not in this episode. The way I look at marketing, for example, is we started using loud EDM music. We started making crazy videos, and our space was like, oh, you shouldn't do that. It's unprofessional. And my attitude is like, fuck you. I'll do what I want because that's who I am. Because I don't want to be the noise. I don't want to be this white noise in a sea of social media that was inundated with, here's the style of marketing a business event. So I took a different road now, and which means that I'm not on trend, which means I'm getting less eyes on, believe it or not. But even though I'm trying to be standout, I'm getting less eyes on because most people are become so used to that same DNA, that same design, and they don't see us. And I'm okay with that. Again, my goal is vetted customers that are loyal to themselves and their growth, not to just get a free pen at an event. So my point being is I feel that I've now seen this trend with AI now suddenly doing what I was doing 2 years ago, right? With the music videos. I'm actually seeing these business events starting to, like, people are throwing up these crazy AI created videos with this really bouncing EDM or music to make it more exciting because they realize their fucking events are boring as shit. Right. And I'm not going to say my events are any more exciting. I mean, it depends on my teacher. It could be a droning, annoying, it just monotone. It would suck. It happens.
Some of your events, I like them. Anyway, go on.
But my point is that the reason I don't see it as being a valuable marketing tool and should not be used as marketing anymore is because it should be something you should be giving your loyal brand customers to turn them into brand ambassadors. Stop wasting the time and the effort on this public outreach for a webinar. I mean, yes, you can give it away to your clients, right? Because they're important to you, and bolster that relationship and make that part of your brand experience. And you can throw it out to the public to maybe see who might pick up on it. But my feeling is don't use it as marketing anymore because it's now trope. It's commonplace because I approach everything. And another example is we had a marketing meeting, couple marketing meetings over the last 3 weeks about how we were going to redirect and handle our social and our paid media. And one of the things we decided was obviously the look and feel of, believe it or not, just simply the backgrounds. What is going to sit on the background of all our text? And we've picked a lane for that, what we're doing there. And we're using actually art, right? We're using real art, like collage and dada and punk and, all kinds of stuff like that, particularly in the collage space. But anyway, I just had this last meeting, and we're dialing back on all our social media. We're not shutting down. We're not leaving a bunch of social media, but we're posting up a post saying deuces, goodbye. Find us here. And we're going back to what social media once was in our marketing, which is quite simply, it's much as we're going back to a lot of the talking head stuff, but quite simply hey, here's my hamburger. Hi, Mom. We looked at social and we said, okay, the trend has now become saturated, one of your favorite words.
Yep.
And
saturated.
It became, we said, okay, it's saturated, and now people are doing what we saw we should be doing, and now people are trying to do it, and they're doing it in abundance because of AI. And we're taking a different route. We're going back to basics. We're going all the way back to, we're looking at, we even were joking, can we create a MySpace page from 1999? Like, what can we do to bring it back to simple? Because I see the way the trend is going. And this goes for everything else we're doing. The webinars. We talked about doing this branding webinar and doing it publicly. And yes, we posted it on Eventbrite, and we didn't advertise it. We just posted it there to see what trickle effect we can get, right? Who can we get to sign up to become a new member through this, popular channel? But the decision was, our webinars are going to be for our members. We need to give these people who are loyally opening our emails up every day, are clicking on not just our links, but our supporters links, on the Steer Us link, on the SBA link. We need to give them something back, even though we're already giving, working at our cost to deliver resources. We're still giving back. So I think I am in full disagreement in the fact that it should be a marketing tool and ever use that marketing at this point. And that's our path. It might not be for everybody else. But I do want to just jump in here because I'm done with my second bitch rant, or third, whichever I've been on.
Is he going to take a breath and keep going, or do I jump in and wait? So I was like, okay.
That's Mark's jokes. I don't take breaths. Let's talk about the disadvantages. Top 3. And this one really hit home. It says interaction. This is number 1, interaction limitations and dehumanized feel.
Oh, bingo. Oh, that's exactly where I was going to go, but not the dehumanized feel for the audience, the dehumanization that you feel as the person who's putting on the webinar. You've planned, you've prepped, you've primped, you've brushed your hair and put makeup on, you've put lipstick on to look cute, all this freaking effort. And then nobody's there, or they don't have their cameras on. And I lecture a lot at a lot of local universities and colleges around Jersey. They all have the Microsoft Teams, and it's just the dots. And I'm like, if anybody's out there, wink your dots. And then the chat lights up. Wink your dots. How do I wink my dot? It's like, come on, people. Like, just turn your freaking camera on. Like, it's so ridiculous because you have gone through all that. And then you stressed because you didn't have enough people registering. And so in the last couple of days, you did the extra push and you paid extra to advertise. And then the people come and then they don't really all show up anyway. And then their cameras are off. So you don't even know if they're there or if they're in the toilet. And then you try to give it, and then you finish the end of your webinar and you are so fucking depleted. It is beyond.
Tell me more about some of those feelings.
How I really feel?
I think that's yeah. Tell me how you really feel. But no, tell me more, because I think that's important because that's going to have an impact on being human. The person who's putting on that webinar, who went through all that effort, that's going to have an impact. And because that's another issue, right? When you start to do things, you have to have consistency, which helps, whether it's the algorithm or the brand or your audience. Because once you kind of start something, people start to say, oh, a one-off is a one-off. But now when you're 3 deep, you're 5 deep, and you're not getting necessarily, oh, well, we can't get bigger than 30% attrition, or people aren't interacting. Talk to me more about how does that impact you? What should somebody do? Talk to me more about those human feelings that people have.
Well, it's a combination of dehumanization and demoralization, right? And when you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you've got a lot of tough days, right? It's not all, I've talked about this again, another soapbox of mine. It's not all tech bros and Lambos where you just wake up and you've got 6 cars in your driveway and you go, it's Tuesday. Is it Lambo day or Porsche day, right? Most of us aren't living that dream. Although my friend John, kudos to you, who has 7 cars in his driveway. And he's just an ordinary guy, brilliant chemist, PhD, super geek, but he's made it happen. Anyway, that said, you don't have that life. So you're struggling, and you need those little perks, because the world has lost joy, which is a whole other soapbox that I'm not going to get into. So you have to find those moments, and you're doing your business and your path because you are passionate about doing it. There's something that's calling you to do this, to deliver this, and you're Sisyphus, right? Every day you're climbing freaking Everest, pushing the boulder up Everest with a fucking toothpick, right? And you're hanging on, right? That's most of the business owners that I talk to. And so when you put all this effort into a webinar, you plan, you prep, you primp, you get ready, right? You got to be camera ready, which is a pain in the ass when you're a chickie poo and you like to wear makeup. And then you do all that stuff, the extra ads, the cost, this, that. And you go and you've got 2.5 people that show up, they blink off and they disappear within the first whatever, right? Now that boulder that you've been pushing up Everest with the toothpick crushes you. And it's that much harder every time that you're crushed to lift the boulder off yourself, scrape yourself up, right? The whole, okay, fall down 7, get up 8, but it gets harder and harder. And you just become so demoralized because you're being told, that's what the messages in the universe and all of the rest of that that's showing you, you're not valued. No one wants to hear what you have to say, right? And you get through that and you go, holy cow, like it's a reckoning come to Jeebus moment, right? Where you go, now what do I do? And so you say, well, maybe webinars aren't my vehicle. Oh, okay, people don't know me, don't know. Or you say, well, okay, no one's engaging with my social media posts. Well, maybe that's not my path, or I need to change it up, change my brand. Well, no one's engaging with me. And you can go down a rat hole really, really quickly. And if you don't have a good team around you to lift you up and go, hey, shake it off, right? Figure it out. It's not like someone came to the webinar and said, Laurelyn, you suck, right? For the 2.5 people that did stay dialed in, you're getting a standing ovation. So
right.
You connected with them and they loved you. So, but it's hard to reckon through all that. Anyway, that was a very, very long emotional.
No. It's real.
There.
That's the thing. It's real because
real.
Every business owner faces in every effort they make those moments where they do something and it doesn't get the result that they had hoped for. And I go back to consistency, but I'm actually going to give, for people who are facing that, I'll get to what to do in a minute in that situation. It's consistency. You have to decide if you're doing a one-off or a test, right? Don't be afraid to tell the audience, we're trying this. This is a new thing for us. You know, lift your skirt, expose, whatever you want to call it. Let them know that we're trying this out for the first time, you know, and see how this works out. So you can level set their expectation that this isn't, if it's going to be a failure, it for you in your eyes, it's something you might not bring back. Don't be afraid. Be transparent about that. I think that's important too. The secret to, in my perspective, is if you've done 5 webinars and you got 2 people at every webinar, and you're feeling deflated about the fact that you did all this, and FYI, just if anybody wants to know, I wear makeup on camera, right? I cover the circles under my eyes. I do little things to try to make sure the shine off of my bald head is diminished from the lights. Exactly. Right. So here's the thing. When you're doing a webinar, you're creating content. Now put your content creator hat on, right? Don't sit there and be like, oh, this sucked. This was a fail. Hit that record button, hit that transcript button. Now you have, so here's a good example. I didn't record the first webinar because, quite frankly, the one we just did, I'm not, you know, that's not content I care about. That was the introductory webinar, some baseline stuff. But the next 2 webinars that I'm going to be doing are going to be recorded. And what's going to happen is that the audio from those webinars I'm going to use. I'm going to give it to my content coordinator. She's going to pick out key things and insights that were said. And then we're going to create shorts with it using that sage advice or that sound advice, whatever comes out of my fucking mouth. my expertise. Again, I can't stand that word expert, that label. But that's what you do is you take it. It's not a loss. It's something that is now usable in some capacity, and you have to find the use for it. And it doesn't have to be the PowerPoint presentation. It could be the audio. It could be the transcript. Take the transcript, put it in AI for a first round and say, dear AI, convert this into an interview between me and a reporter, a journalist, and let AI figure out how to turn that into an interview for you. Then go back and humanly tweak that shit because you have to go back and fix it because AI is fucking broken, even though it's so technically good. And write this interview article, right? And then now you have a piece of material that if it sounds good and looks good, you could call up one of your PR buddies, your publicist buddies, your whatever, and you can deploy it, or you can deploy it on the on your blog, or it's a piece of something that's usable. And that's really how you take this feeling of like, this sucks. I had 2.5 people in my fucking webinar, and I've done 12 webinars and I've got nothing from it. Part of that is definitely on you, not necessarily the advertising part, but what are you going to do with that content you just created? How do you maximize it? How do you use it so it's not sitting in the junk drawer somewhere? That's the secret, genuine secret to and that's not just the webinars, that's everything you create. We have all our interview videos on YouTube, right? Biz Talk. And a lot of people you'll see a lot of like AI ads. They'll be like, well, if you create an interview, you could get 300 pieces of content out of that. And they're right. Use AI and chop it up if you want to use AI. And that's what we do. We'll use it for our shorts. We'll just chop up a video and use it for our shorts to create that. And we don't get 300 pieces, by the way. I think that's a lot of shit too. But, we'll get 8 good shorts out of a 45-minute, 20-minute, 45-minute video that we can post on YouTube Shorts or on social media. So you have to definitely look at what you're doing and how to maximize it, especially when you're in those moments where you feel like this sucks, I'm pushing this boulder, and I'm failing. Find other uses for that content you created. And that's my secret.
And that is spot on. Because we talked about the marketing hat on and the expert hat on. I know you don't like the title, but whatever. But that's the whole thing. Put your content creator hat on and say, you know what? Maybe the webinar wasn't my intended vehicle. Right. Maybe, because if you are an expert, you're offering nuggets, right? There are bits of gold in there. Maybe you just didn't have the right vehicle. And this is an omni-channel marketing world. So find another vehicle, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. And it's all about where you shine. I know when I do a webinar, I give it, or a podcast like this, I give it, but it's totally different from how I give it when I am live on stage in front of people. I feel the energy. I dial into right? And it's like, I'm so excited. I'm going to be at Sherm, Virginia, giving a talk in Virginia Beach on Monday. And their whole theme of the conference is all about—
That's Monday, April 14th, by the way. When this airs, it's going to be the past.
Well, there you go. Okay, so there's that. But it's all about navigating choppy waters in HR and leadership these days, and how it's just pretty much a dumpster fire out there, right? And so my whole talk is about pirates being exemplary leaders, right? Because they can motivate, they can influence, they can this, and very democratic process, right? From the deckhand to the first mate, everyone has an equal vote, and you're the captain until you're not, right? Because everybody becomes mutinous. They're like, yeah, we've questioned your leadership. Yeah, you're voting on competence here, right? Walk the plank. And so I've got the whole thing. I've got the pirate costume, the cosplay and stuff. Like, my intention is to dazzle, right? And give, and really give it, and have some fun with this, because we've lost joy. And if I see one more effing PowerPoint, I'm going to lose my shit.
I know, I can't stand them. So we're wrapping up this episode, and I actually gave away the advice of what you do when you're miserable about the 1.2 people that showed up at your webinar. What do? Is you got to take that and maximize that content, find a way to use it so it's not in a junk drawer. And I think you hit a big nail on the head just now, we talk about that as one of the number one cons being the interaction limitations. Nothing is going to ever replace live interaction. Energy is different. environment's different. The opportunity for questions are different. You give off, there's only so much energy you can give off in a webinar. You can't give off the same vibe as if you're standing on a stage or at a podium or in a room. You can't. It's people are good at delivering, but there's a degree of human energy in the room that creates excitement that you're not going to get anywhere else but live. This is why,
especially if people have their cameras off. Oh my
yeah,
God.
Listen, Metallica isn't selling out webinar seats. If it was really that valuable, every rock star and musician in the planet would just have online concerts. It doesn't work.
That's why they tour. Even
That's
at 80, right? 80 years of age.
Exactly.
We're coming back to the stage. It's hard to bend, but we're up here.
Their cocktail of formaldehyde and caffeine. So our next episode, we are going to talk about, and I think this is probably one of the first episodes, maybe you and I will disagree on, luck. We're going to talk about luck in business. So listen, folks, thanks for checking us out and joining us here on the podcast. Don't forget to go to procurementcon.com, sign up for one of our events, join our small business community. It's no cost, but it is not free, folks. You have to put in the work to be part of our community. That means click the links, attend webinars, read blog posts, all that stuff. You have to interact with the content we deliver you. Otherwise, we have to start charging you. And head on over to steerus.io and join the Steer Us movement and elevate your game, because we are going to be taking Steer Us to the next level, I'm hoping. And with that, folks, Dr. Mears, thank you so much for joining me again today. I think you said more fucks than I did, by the way.
We'll have to start doing a count at the end of every episode, right? It's like, here's the chart. Here's Eric's chart, how many hashes you have, and here's mine, right? How many bleeps? The bleep count.
We'll have the fuck episode where every other word is fuck. All right, folks, and we are out of here.